Let's talk about how to make your ex want you again. Let's set the record straight. ChatGPT and all the self-help gurus might tell you to just hit the gym, work on yourself, and apologize. And while that's part of the puzzle, it's far from the whole picture. If you want to make your ex or even your current partner want you again, you need to go deeper. Let's talk about what it really takes to shift the relationship and make them see you in a way that they can't resist. Yes, growth is key. Focus on building confidence, hitting the gym, and creating the life you've been putting off. But that alone won't fix the relationship. How do we know this? Because people do this all the time, and it's not enough. You may even go in there and change the thing that they asked you to change. But is that enough? No, it's not enough. You know why? It's because although you shifted, guess what? They still see that same future with you, depending on what you did. This is why it's important for us to uproot that future and change that future. Now, what's in that future that they don't want? It's what we call an intolerable, right? So what's their intolerable? What's intolerable for them? What's it that they don't want that future to look like? It could be you disrespecting them. It could be, they don't want a future of boredom. They don't want a future of whatever it may be, of lying or disrespect or whatever it may be. So whatever that thing is, we got to figure out what that is. What's their intolerable? What's intolerable for them to live in the future with you? And then we now get to figure out what that is. And that's what we attack. That's what we go to work on. Now, don't get me wrong. You still want to hit the gym. You still want to be the highest version of yourself. I have it that I want to be every day worthy of my wife. I think she's the most beautiful, amazing human being on the planet. However, that by itself is not enough. Will it help? Will we use it to create FOMO to get your ex back? 100%. We'll use that to create FOMO or fear of missing out as well. That's fantastic. But guess what? When you figure out what that intolerable is, and now you address the intolerable, the thing, when you figure out what that is, what's the thing that they can't live with that made them say, I don't want to be with you? When you move that out of the way, then all of a sudden the entire relationship now gets to shift. I worked with somebody who they really desperately wanted to have their partner back. Okay. They were dealing with a situation where their partner was just out, 100% out. Nothing that they said was going to make a difference, it seemed. There was alcoholism involved. There were these semi-annual bouts of some kind of violence, either verbal or physical violence somehow in their relationship. It was a toxic relationship, and their partner, she said, hey, I'm done. In fact, she took the kid, she ran away, she was repulsed by him, never wanted to see him again. And their relationship was going to go the way of the dinosaur. That was just it. And so although he said, I'm sorry, he made those changes, it didn't matter because she didn't believe, she still saw a future with him that was not going to look the way that she wanted it to look. And so what we went to work on, yes, we made him better. Yes, we went to work on the alcoholism. Yes, we went to work on the things that he needed to go to work on. He needed to get a job. He needed to do these things. But that by itself wasn't enough. It was that we had to shift her view of the future that they were going to live together. And so that's what we did. We figured out what those specific intolerables were, and we impacted those immediately. Now, even though she said she was never coming back, and she meant it. I mean, she had no desire of ever coming back and being with him again. By discovering what those intolerables were that she was dealing with, the things that she saw as a future that they were going to live, and then now eradicating them, neutralizing them, being such a demonstration. Thank goodness we have the kids. We could use that as an opportunity to deal with those, to create communication so we could deal with those intolerables and move them out of the way. By moving those out of the way, guess what happened? All of a sudden, now she could start seeing a different future. Now, when he addressed those intolerables with her, here's what happened. She initially said, good for you. I hope this is real, right? And so then what we did is that we began to work on actions that were going to be a demonstration of that over and over again with the opportunities that we had. So that was it. So the first, when you take the intolerables out, now you begin to shift the future. You begin to shift the life that they see. Now they start thinking, even though they don't do it initially, they start to think, oh, well, maybe what if they did really shift, right? And so we start shifting the way that the relationship looks for them. Now, the next thing that we do is if we just have contact points, okay? If you just have certain contact points, I'm talking like one conversation or even 30 seconds on the line with them. If you know how to trigger, if you know what their happy hormones are, if you know what their primary drivers are, if you know how to trigger them, you can trigger their happy hormones now that we begin to detox with those intolerables. And, there's some other things too that need to be done. We begin to trigger those happy hormones, triggering them over and over and over again, so that in those moments that we have with them, they're left with a positive experience. So imagine this, you only have 30 seconds with them, but guess what? Those 30 seconds is all all you had. And in those 30 seconds, you were awesome. All 30 seconds. Guess what happened? Now their experience of you was being given by those 30 seconds. Does that make sense? Even though that's all you had was 30 seconds, it was an awesome 30 seconds if you know what you're doing. So that happens is they start to now shift their experience of you inside of that. Next thing you know, what's happening is that they're now wanting to, and we find is what we call indicators of interest. They're now finding themselves wanting to come towards you, or maybe you're getting unblocked now, right? Now they're making more communication. Maybe they're finding reasons to communicate with you. Maybe even they're yelling and screaming at you now, which is also for us an indicator of interest, because before they didn't even want to talk about it, but now they're yelling and screaming because they care. And so we're using by triggering those happy hormones, we're getting them to come towards you, even in smallest of ways, right? And now we're shifting the relationship. Now this will work for 90% of the time, right? What will happen is if you can you can take out the cortisol, you can take away the toxicity, and then you can trigger the happy hormones in the relationship, or just in the small contact points that you have with them, the person will come towards you, because we move away from whatever triggers stress. By eliminating that thing that was creating the stress, now we don't have that repulsion anymore, right? And then triggering happy hormone, what's going to happen? They start to come toward us. That's what we want them to do. So when you have all of that going on at the same time, naturally, the mathematics of relationship is very, very clear. We're creating this positive emotional residue. You're shifting the relationship, right? And if you don't have contact, what do we want to do? We also want to create FOMO. We want to be able to create that fear of missing out by actually covering those intolerables, doing things that are a demonstration of higher value in the relationship, those kinds of things. And we're doing all of that all at the same time. Guess what? This is how we shift relationships relatively quickly. And this can work for as much as 90% if you execute flawlessly the plan. So go take that on. Listen, here's the bottom line. If you have a situation where you have someone who you really deeply care about, they are someone that you want to be with, they may be your ex, they may be somebody who is now looking to get out, but they're your partner, but they're looking to get out of the relationship, you can begin to execute on these particular things. Number one, finding what the intolerables are. Number two, figuring out what their primary drivers are and triggering those primary drivers. And number three is to now make demonstrations of higher value that give them FOMO, make them want to be here because they don't want to miss out on the opportunity that it is to be with you. All right. So with that being said, bottom line is you can shift your relationship in 90% of the cases. Take on some of the things I'm talking about here. I hope they make a difference. If it does, comment below. Let me know. Of course, drop me a follow, subscribe for the channel, and I got more stuff coming your way. Talk to you soon.